Henry VIII, King of England, warrior, monarch, legend. Or was he? You see, monarchs aren't often remembered for their flaws. Their victories echo across time. Their faces adorn currency. Their legacies are celebrated. But what if the stories were reversed? What if we told you about a king who was undone not by an enemy, but by himself? No battles, no rivals, just self-inflicted ruin. Welcome to the story of Henry VIII. He changed the course of history. He created a new religion. He ruled with absolute power. And yet the end of his life was nothing short of a nightmare. A slow, festering, horrifying death that reeked of karma and rot. In 1509, a young 17-year-old Henry ascended the throne. Tall, athletic, charismatic. He was everything a king should be. He spoke multiple languages, played musical instruments, and was said to be one of the handsomest kings in Europe. He loved sports, especially jousting, and it was during one of these tournaments that fate would begin to take its revenge. January of 1536. The air was thick with anticipation. Spectators crowded the jousting ground, among them Henry, eager to participate. Now, jousting wasn't mere sport. It was a display of skill, a test of valor, a spectacle of power. And Henry, ever competitive, wanted to win. Little did he know that day would become infamous, not for a knightly victory, but for a king's downfall. When it was his turn, Henry rode forward, resplendent in armor, his 8-foot lance held high. The crowd roared. His mount, a massive warhorse named Butter, pawed the ground. As the rival knights took their positions, the herald blew his horn, signaling the start. Lance met lance. The impact sent sparks flying. But as the opposing knight faltered, Henry's heart soared. Victory was his. Yet none noticed a dark omen unfolding. Butter stumbled. The spectators gasped as the mighty beast, weighing over 1,000 pounds, collapsed. And in that moment, so did Henry's hopes for a glorious reign. The horse landed on top of him, crushing him beneath its weight for 2 long hours. Henry lay there, the life draining out of him. Some witnesses claimed he stopped breathing altogether. They rushed to his aid, but it was a Herculean task to shift the horse. Finally, when they managed to pull Butter off of Henry, the king was still alive, but barely. His breaths were shallow, his face ashen. They carried him back to the palace, but that day, a part of Henry died, and what rose in its place was something monstrous. When he awoke, he was racked with pain. His leg throbbed where the horse had crushed him. The wound was deep, ugly, and refused to heal. Over time, it turned septic. Pus oozed daily, the smell unbearable, the pain constant. It was a torment that ate away at him, both physically and mentally. And here's the thing, Henry, before the fall, was vibrant, full of life, a man who enjoyed hunting, hawking, rioting. But now he was confined to his bed, then to his room. He couldn't bear the thought of sitting still. He paced endlessly, seeking relief that never came. His ulcerated leg was a throbbing reminder of his fall, of his humiliation, of his mortality. And as his leg rotted, so did his soul. The once charismatic king became obese, paranoid, and vengeful. He lashed out at those around him, ordering executions at the slightest insult. Even his closest allies feared him. In the span of a few years, he gained close to 400 pounds. He could barely move. His legs were ulcerated, black with rot. His throne had to be widened, his bed modified with mechanical winches to lift him. Even the most loyal servants recoiled from the stench that clung to him. But perhaps the most heartbreaking image is of the king refusing to bathe. He loathed the effort it took to wash his foul body, so he simply avoided it. Dirt and disease clung to him, making his presence unbearable. And as the years passed, the king's condition worsened. By 1546, he weighed close to 400 pounds. He could barely move. His legs were ulcerated, black with rot. His throne had to be widened, his bed modified with mechanical winches to lift him. Even the most loyal servants recoiled from the stench that clung to him. Yet amidst this decay, there was a glimmer of hope, and of Cleaves, his 4th wife, stayed by his side, tending to him in his darkest moments. She offered solace, companionship, and perhaps true love. She bathed him, she sang to him, she read to him. She was his rock when all others fled. But even her devotion couldn't erase the stench that followed Henry everywhere. She couldn't stand the smell of his rotting flesh. And after only 6 months of marriage, she asked for a separation. It was an agonizing decision, but she couldn't bear the stench any longer. And so in January 1547, Henry stopped speaking. He refused medicine. He lay in silence, fading. His body was now a battlefield of infection. Gangrene spread through his leg and groin. The stench, so strong it filled the halls of Hampton Court Palace. The king who once commanded armies was now besieged by pain. At this point, clergy came to offer last rites. But Henry, this architect of the Reformation, refused to confess. Was he afraid of judgment, of the wives he betrayed, of the lives he ended? No one knows. On January 28, 1547, Henry VIII died, alone, in silence, in decay. His ulcerated leg had finally given way, leading to his demise. But even in death, his body defied peace. His coffin, sealed hastily, burst open during transit. Foul liquids seeped out. Chroniclers reported dogs licking at the royal remains, the stench of a rotting monarch. To add to the horror, when they finally buried him in Windsor Castle, the grave caved in, forcing them to decenter the coffin. Imagine the sight, a gaping hole in the ground, a coffin spilling forth, not treasure, but decay. They quickly reburied him, desperate to hide the evidence. But the damage was done. Henry, the conqueror, had been conquered by his own flesh. The story of Henry VIII is more than a morbid tale. It's a warning. It tells us that absolute power corrupts, that unchecked indulgence destroys, that pride comes before the fall. Henry didn't just die. He rotted from the inside out, and the smell of tyranny, it lingers still. So here's the question for you. Was Henry a hero or a horror? Let us know in the comments. If you want to know more about the Tudor dynasty, click on this video on screen now. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.